I never thought the hands I held to help my twin sons take their first steps would one day be used so differently. One would pull me up from the darkest moment of my life. The other would try to beat me to death. My name is Michael Torres, and I'm 60 years old. I've lived in Toronto my entire life, worked as a mechanic for 37 years, and raised two boys after my wife Elena passed from cancer when they were just 9. People always told me how lucky I was to have twins. 2 for the price of 1, they'd joke. 2 best friends built in. 2 sons to take care of you when you're old. They were half right. It was a Tuesday morning in October when my world split in two. The maple leaves outside my kitchen window had turned that brilliant red you only see in Ontario autumns. I was making coffee, thinking about how Elena would have loved this weather. She always said fall in Canada was proof that God was an artist. I didn't know that in exactly 47 days, one of my sons would be sentenced to 8 years in a federal prison. I didn't know that the $150,000 sitting in my bank account from Elena's life insurance policy would become the price tag on our family's destruction. And I certainly didn't know that I'd learn the difference between being a father and being someone's father. Let me go back 6 months to when the letters started. The first one came in April, shoved under my apartment door. No envelope, just a piece of paper with words cut from magazines like something from a crime show. Your time is running out. Pay up or pay with your life. I thought it was a prank. Maybe neighborhood kids. I threw it away. The second letter came 2 weeks later. Same style. I know about the money. $150,000. Give it to me or die. This time, my hands shook as I read it. I called the police. The officer who took my report was sympathetic but honest. Without more evidence, there wasn't much they could do. He suggested I keep the letters if more came. They did. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork. The threats got more specific. They knew my routine. They knew I got coffee at Tim Hortons every morning at 7. They knew I volunteered at the community center on Thursdays. They knew about Elena's insurance money. I didn't tell my sons at first. Alex was doing well, working as an accountant, married to a wonderful woman named Sarah. They'd just had a baby girl, my granddaughter Emma. I didn't want to worry them. And Aaron had his own troubles. My boys had been identical in appearance but opposite in everything else since they were teenagers. Alex was responsible, studied hard, never touched drugs or alcohol. Aaron was charming but reckless. He dropped out of college twice, had 3 DUIs by the time he was 25, lost jobs for showing up late or not at all. But he was still my son. I'd helped him through rehab twice, given him money for rent more times than I could count. Elena used to say I was enabling him, but what was I supposed to do? Let him end up homeless? He was my boy, my blood. The thing about gambling addiction is it's a silent killer. It doesn't leave track marks or make you slur your words. Aaron hid it well for years. I only found out last year when he asked to borrow $15,000. He was crying, saying some guys were going to hurt him if he didn't pay. I gave it to him. I always gave in. Looking back now, I see the pattern. The late-night phone calls, the way he'd get jumpy when his phone rang, the fact that he moved apartments 4 times in 2 years. But love makes you blind, doesn't it? Or maybe it makes you want to be blind. By October, I hadn't seen Aaron in 3 weeks. He wasn't returning my calls. Alex told me he'd tried to reach out too, but Aaron was ghosting everyone. I was worried sick. The letters had stopped coming after the police installed a security camera in my building's hallway, but I still felt uneasy. Alex called me on a Monday night. Dad, Sarah and I want to do something special for your birthday. It's the big 6-0. Can we come by Saturday morning? Say around 10? My birthday wasn't until the following Tuesday, but I didn't argue. Any excuse to see my granddaughter was good enough. Of course, son. I'll make breakfast. No, don't make anything. We'll bring food. Just be home, okay? And don't make any other plans. I smiled. They were planning a surprise party. Not hard to figure out. Sarah had probably baked one of her famous cakes. I decided to play along. Saturday morning, I woke up early, tidied the apartment, put on the blue sweater Elena had given me for my 55th birthday. I still wore it on special occasions. It smelled like her perfume, even after all these years. Or maybe that was just my imagination. At 9:47 a.m., someone knocked on my door. Hard, aggressive, not the way Alex knocked. I looked through the peephole and saw Aaron. My heart lifted. He'd come for my birthday after all. Maybe he was early to help Alex set up the surprise. I opened the door with a smile. Aaron, son, it's so good to... The smile died on my face. Aaron looked terrible. His eyes were bloodshot, his clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. He was sweating despite the cool October air, and his hands were shaking. "Where's the money?" he said. "What?" "The money, Dad. The $150,000. I need it now." I stepped back. Something was very wrong. "Aaron, what are you talking about? Come inside. Let's talk." He shoved past me into the apartment. And I smelled it. Alcohol. At 10 in the morning. "I'm done talking. I've been asking nicely for months. I gave you chances." My blood went cold. The letters. "That was you?" "Of course it was me." He was pacing now, running his hands through his hair. "Who else would it be? I need that money, Dad. I owe people. Bad people. They're going to kill me if I don't pay by Monday." "Aaron, sit down. Let's figure this out together." "We can." "No." He slammed his fist on my kitchen table, making the salt and pepper shakers jump. "You don't get it. There's no figuring it out. I need $150,000 by Monday, or I'm dead. You have it. Elena's insurance money. You don't even need it. You live in this tiny apartment. You don't travel. You don't buy anything. That money is just sitting there. That money is for my retirement, for emergencies, for... I'm your son." His voice cracked. "Isn't that an emergency? Or do you not care if I die?" My heart was breaking. This wasn't my boy. This was addiction talking, desperation talking. "Aaron, I love you more than anything, but giving you $150,000 won't solve this. You need help, real help. Let me call Dr. Brennan, the counselor who... I don't need a fucking counselor." He grabbed my arms, his fingers digging in. "I need money. That's my inheritance anyway. Mom would want me to have it. Your mother would want you to get help." Something changed in his eyes then, a darkness I'd never seen before. "You selfish bastard," he whispered. "You're going to let me die because you want to keep your precious money. Aaron, please." He punched me. I'd never been hit by one of my own children before. The shock was worse than the pain. I stumbled backward, tasting blood, my hand going to my mouth. "Give me the money." He hit me again, this time in the stomach. I doubled over, gasping. "You're a terrible father. You've always loved Alex more. Perfect Alex, with his perfect job and perfect family. What about me? What about what I need?" I tried to speak, to reason with him, but he kicked me in the ribs. I went down hard on the kitchen floor. The blue sweater Elena had given me was staining red from my bleeding nose. "You're pathetic," Aaron said, standing over me, lying there like a victim. "You did this to yourself. You're cheap, you're selfish, and you deserve this." He kicked me again. The pain was white-hot, radiating from my side. I heard something crack. He kicked me a third time, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Could only see Elena's face, wondering if I'd see her soon. "Aaron?" Both of us froze. Alex was standing in the doorway, his key still in the lock. Sarah was behind him, holding Emma. The surprise birthday cake was in Alex's hands, chocolate with Happy 60th Dad, written in blue icing. The cake fell. It hit the floor with a wet splat, icing splattering across the doorway like a crime scene. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Alex saw me on the floor, blood pooling beneath my head, and something in my responsible, calm, accountant's son snapped. He dropped his keys and charged at Aaron like a linebacker. They crashed into the wall, pictures of Elena falling and shattering. Sarah screamed, pulling Emma back into the hallway. "What did you do?" Alex was shouting, his hands on Aaron's throat. "What did you do to him?" "Get off me." Aaron tried to fight back, but Alex had 40 pounds on him now. Years of gym visits versus years of addiction had changed their identical bodies. "He's your father," Alex's voice broke. "Our father. The man who raised us alone, who worked 2 jobs to keep us fed. And you," he couldn't finish. He was crying now, still holding Aaron against the wall. I tried to speak, to tell them to stop, but only a wheeze came out. The pain in my ribs was unbearable. Sarah was on her phone, calling 911, her voice shaking as she gave the address. "Alex," I managed to whisper. "Let him go." Alex looked at me, his face crumbling. "Dad, there's so much blood." "Call the police too," I said, each word agony. "Tell them everything." Aaron was sobbing now, crumpled against the wall. I'm sorry. I didn't mean I just needed. They're going to kill me, Dad. They're going to kill me." "You were killing him," Alex shouted. "Your own father." The paramedics arrived first, then the police. I remember being lifted onto a stretcher, remember seeing my apartment through a haze of pain and shock, the birthday cake still on the floor, the broken pictures. My 2 sons, one being handcuffed, one giving a statement with tears streaming down his face. The last thing I saw before they closed the ambulance doors was Aaron looking at me, not with anger anymore, with something worse, with the realization of what he'd done. I spent 3 days in the hospital, 4 broken ribs, a concussion, a broken nose, and extensive bruising. The doctor said I was lucky. A few more minutes and Aaron might have done permanent damage to my organs. Lucky. That's what they called it. Alex and Sarah came every day. They brought Emma, and I held my granddaughter's tiny hand and thought about how I'd almost never seen her grow up. Alex kept apologizing, as if any of this was his fault. "I should have known," he said on the second day. "I should have seen the signs." "How?" I asked. "I didn't see them, and I'm his father. I saw him last month, at a casino in Niagara Falls. He pretended he was there with friends, but he was alone at a poker table. I should have told you, and I should have stopped enabling him years ago. We can't change the past, Alex. We can only deal with what's in front of us now." What was in front of us was Detective Linda Morrison, who came to take my formal statement on day 3. She was in her 40s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Mr. Torres, I need to ask you some difficult questions," she said, sitting beside my hospital bed. "The letters you reported, did you keep them?" "Yes, they're in a folder in my kitchen drawer. We found them. We also found something else." She pulled out an evidence bag with a cell phone inside. This was in Aaron's jacket pocket when we arrested him. He'd been documenting everything. Documenting text messages to someone named Dimitri, detailing his plan to get money from you. The letters were practice, trying to scare you. When that didn't work, he decided to take it by force. She paused. "Mr. Torres, did you know your son owes money to the Volkov gambling ring?" I felt sick. The Volkovs were Russian organized crime in Toronto. Everyone knew their name. How much? According to the texts, $180,000. He borrowed $30,000 initially. The interest compounded. He was supposed to pay by November 1st. That was 9 days away. He said they'd kill him. They might. Or they might just break his legs and hands as a warning. These aren't people who forgive debts. She leaned forward. "There's more. We contacted the RCMP. They've been investigating the Volkovs for 2 years. Your son's cooperation could be valuable. But there's something else." She pulled out another folder. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Bank statements. Not mine. Aaron's. Over the past 18 months, deposits and withdrawals totaling over $200,000. "Where did he get this money?" I asked. "We're still investigating, but preliminary evidence suggests fraud. He was running a scam targeting elderly people, fake investment schemes. He'd call them, pretend to be a financial advisor, convince them to wire money for high-return investments. The investments didn't exist. I thought I was going to be sick. How many people? So far, we've identified 8 victims. Most of them lost their life savings. One woman, Mrs. Chen, lost $47,000. That was supposed to be for her cancer treatment. My son, my boy, had become a monster, and I'd been too blind to see it. "He needs to pay for this," I said quietly. Detective Morrison nodded. "He will. The Crown is pursuing charges of assault, causing bodily harm, uttering threats, and fraud over $5,000. He's looking at significant prison time." "Good." She looked surprised. "Most parents in your position want leniency." Most parents in my position probably enabled their kids for too long. I won't make that mistake again. After she left, I cried for the first time since Elena's funeral. I cried for the little boy who used to bring me dandelions and call them flowers. I cried for the teenager who'd wanted to be a pilot. I cried for all the moments when I could have been tougher, could have said no, could have made him face consequences. And I cried because somewhere along the way, I'd lost a son. Not to an accident or illness, but to my own misguided love. Alex drove me home from the hospital. The apartment had been cleaned by a service the victim support program had arranged. The blood was gone, but the memories remained. I couldn't look at the kitchen floor without seeing myself there, broken and bleeding. "You can stay with us," Alex offered. "Sarah already set up the guest room." "No, I need to face this place. If I run now, I'll never come back." He understood. That was the thing about Alex. He always understood. The trial was set for January. Aaron's lawyer, a public defender named Mr. Rashid, tried to build a case around addiction and diminished capacity. The Crown prosecutor, a stern woman named Miss Patterson, wasn't having it. "Your client planned this attack," she said during a pretrial hearing I attended. "He sent threatening letters for months. He researched the Volkov organization and made conscious decisions to borrow money from them. He defrauded 8 innocent people, specifically targeting the elderly because they were vulnerable. This isn't diminished capacity. This is calculated criminal behavior with addiction as a contributing factor, not an excuse." I sat in the gallery, listening to them discuss my son like a case number. Aaron was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, shackled at the wrists and ankles. He looked thinner, older. He saw me and looked away quickly, shame written across his face. The preliminary hearing lasted 3 hours. The evidence was overwhelming. The letters, the texts to Dmitri, the bank records, the testimony from Mrs. Chen and the other victims. Alex's testimony about what he witnessed. The medical reports detailing my injuries. Mr. Rashid tried. He really did. He called a psychologist who testified about gambling addiction and its effects on decision-making. He called Aaron's first rehab counselor, who spoke about his struggles. He even tried to call me as a character witness. I refused. "Mr. Torres," the judge said, peering at me over his glasses. "You're refusing to testify in your son's defense?" "Yes, Your Honor." "May I ask why?" I looked at Aaron. He was crying silently, his shoulders shaking. "Because I can't defend what he did. I love my son. I'll always love him. But love doesn't mean protecting him from the consequences of his choices. It means hoping he learns from them." The judge nodded slowly. "You're a wise man, Mr. Torres. I wish more parents understood that." The trial itself was in February. Winter had hit Toronto hard, snow piling up in gray slush on the sidewalks. I walked into the courthouse, wearing my blue sweater, Elena's face in my mind. Aaron pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. 8 years in a federal prison, with possibility of parole after 4. Part of his plea deal included cooperation with the RCMP investigation into the Volkovs and agreement to pay restitution to his victims. The judge, the Honorable Patricia Reynolds, read the sentence with a grave expression. "Mr. Torres, you are 29 years old. You have your whole life ahead of you. You could have been anything, done anything. Instead, you chose to victimize the vulnerable, to terrorize your own father, to throw away every advantage and opportunity you were given. You will spend the next 8 years contemplating those choices. I hope, when you emerge as a better man." Aaron was crying. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat was too tight. After the sentencing, Miss Patterson approached me in the hallway. "Mr. Torres, there's the matter of the restitution. Aaron obviously doesn't have assets, but you have the right to pursue a civil suit for your medical costs." "No," I said immediately. "No? I want to do something else. The 8 victims, Mrs. Chen and the others. How much did they lose in total?" She consulted her file. Combined, approximately $215,000. I took a breath. My wife's life insurance was $150,000. I want to use it to help them. Miss Patterson stared at me. Mr. Torres, that's your retirement, your security. My security is knowing I did the right thing. My wife worked as a nurse for 30 years. She spent her life helping people. She'd want this money to help heal the damage our son caused. You said our son, not my son. I smiled sadly. He's Elena's boy too. She'd be heartbroken, but she'd also want to make it right. It took 6 weeks to sort out the legal details. I ended up giving $150,000, split proportionally among the victims based on their losses. Mrs. Chen got $32,806. A man named Mr. Kowalski got 28,000. An elderly couple, the Patels, got $24,000. I met each of them personally, shook their hands, apologized on behalf of my son. Most of them cried. Most of them tried to refuse the money at first, saying it wasn't my responsibility. But I insisted. My son took this from you, I told them. I can't give you back the trust he broke or the security you lost. But I can give you this. Please, let me try to repair even a fraction of the damage. Mrs. Chen hugged me for a long time. Your wife must have been a remarkable woman, she said. She was, and she'd be glad to know her insurance is being used this way. What about you? What will you live on? I shrugged. I have my pension. My apartment is paid off. Alex and Sarah want me to spend more time with Emma anyway. I'll be fine. And I was. I am. Alex and I visit Aaron every 3 months. The visits are awkward. He's doing a carpentry program in prison, learning a trade. He's been clean for over a year now. He writes me letters, apologizing, trying to explain, asking for forgiveness. I write back. I tell him I forgive him. I tell him I love him, but I also tell him the truth. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, I wrote in my last letter. It doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was. You took something from me that day. You took my sense of safety, my trust, my peace. You took even more from the people you defrauded. These things can't be given back. They can only be rebuilt, slowly, over time. If you want a relationship with me when you get out, you'll have to earn it. Not because you're my son, but because you become a man worth trusting. His response came 2 weeks later. I understand, Dad. I'll spend every day trying to become that man. Time will tell if he means it. As for me, I'm 61 now. My ribs healed, though they ache when it rains. The nightmares about that morning come less frequently. Emma is 3.5, and she calls me Papa. I teach her how to use tools in my garage. Safe ones, kid-sized ones. She loves it. Sarah is pregnant with their second child, a boy. They asked if they could name him Michael Jr. I said yes. People ask me sometimes if I regret giving away Elena's insurance money. The answer is no. That money was meant to give life meaning. Sitting in a bank account, it meant nothing. Helping Mrs. Chen pay for her cancer treatment, helping the Patels avoid foreclosure, that gave it meaning. That's what Elena would have wanted. Some people say, I'm too hard on Aaron, that addiction is a disease, that he couldn't help it. Maybe they're right, but I know this. Every day, people with addictions choose not to hurt others, choose to get help, choose to take responsibility. Aaron made different choices, and choices have consequences. I loved my son from the moment he was born. I held him in the hospital, marveling at his tiny fingers, his perfect face. I promised him and his brother that I'd always protect them, always be there, always love them. I've kept that promise. But protection doesn't mean enabling. Being there doesn't mean accepting abuse. And love, real love, sometimes means stepping back and letting someone face the results of their actions. My son died the day he chose to hurt me. But maybe, just maybe, in that prison cell, learning carpentry and fighting his demons, a better man is being born. A man who understands that family isn't just blood, it's respect, it's trust. It's showing up when it matters. Alex showed up. He saved my life that day. He's shown up every day since. Aaron didn't show up, not when it mattered. But he's got time to learn. 8 years? Maybe it'll be enough. I hope so. Because no matter what happened, no matter what he did, I'm still his father. And a father never stops hoping his children will find their way home. Even if that home looks different than it used to. Even if there are new rules, new boundaries, new understandings. The door is open, but he'll have to walk through it himself. I won't carry him anymore. That's the lesson I learned too late. The lesson I wish I'd learned when he was 15 or 20 or 25. But I learned it eventually, and maybe that's the story I needed to tell. Not about betrayal or violence or broken families. About learning to love someone enough to let them fail, to let them fall, to let them face the world without a safety net you're no longer willing to provide. Because sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone is refuse to save them from themselves. I miss my son. Both versions of him. The little boy with the dandelions and the young man who might emerge from prison someday. But I don't miss the person he became in between. That person needed to go. I just wish it hadn't taken so much pain to send him away. That's my story. That's my truth. And if you're a parent out there, struggling with a child who's making bad choices, I want you to know this. It's not your fault. You can't save someone who won't save themselves. You can love them. You can hope for them. You can even forgive them. But you can't fix them. Only they can do that. And sometimes, love means stepping back and giving them room to either fix themselves or finish destroying themselves. It's the hardest choice you'll ever make. But it might be the most important one, too.